Hi Tangle friends, welcome to my studio here in Estes Park, Colorado. I'm Annie and today I'm going to show you a really fun tangle called Mak-rah mee. Mak-rah mee is by CZT Michelle Beauchamp and it will bring you right back to the 70s. I don't know about you, but I was crazy about making macrame plant hangers and wall hangings using all kinds of different materials and big wooden beads and ceramic beads. And anyway, this Mak-rah mee is based on the headquarters tangle called Kiko, which is right here in the center. And then we add all of these tendril-like rope twiny things that we turn into then this Mak-rah mee. But what I thought was really kind of cool when I was working this up for our Lunchtime Tangle, I noticed that if I extend some of these tendrils all the way to the edges, it's kind of nice that you can use this as a string for filling in your daily meditative tangle, for example. So this is what I continued on doing. This is the idea that I had. So here's the start, the Mak-rah mee, and then I just filled in all of those negative spaces with other tangles. So today I'm going to show you how we'll do this, and we will do it in the Renaissance colors, and I will show you how to shade. And if you only have black and white, that's fine because the graphite shading is the same way. Then the next time we meet, I will fill in these interstices or these negative spaces with some other tangles. Today we're going to start with a Zendala Renaissance color from Zentangle, and I will be using both an 01 black Micron pen and an 01 brown Micron pen. To go with that, we'll be needing a soft graphite pencil for shading the black and for also a blending stump for the black. We will be shading our browns with henna. You can use terracotta, you can use Caput Mortuum. I kind of like to use both of these because you know me in color layering. This will give us some extreme deep darks, whereas this can be just the regular shading. And I will like to highlight with General's Charcoal White. They work so well on this Zendala. For that, I need a special designated white blending stump for that. So always, I keep my kneaded eraser handy in case I need to lift my shading, and we will go for it. We're going to begin by doing basically a Kiko square. Now on this one, I'm going to make my Kiko center quite a bit larger than on the blue one because I noticed that it gets sort of lost in the scheme of things. So this will be a certainly much larger focal point. And we start by doing these slightly bowed strokes, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then Kiko is based on what a lot of Zentangle tangles are based on, is directional change. So now we're going to change the direction and do that same thing, but in the opposite direction. So they're sort of making a square, and then this one will pick this back up with the 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this goes back this way. This needs to be about the same length, so I'm going to extend that. And then we're going to cap these strokes off with a little scalloped edge. So just joining those open edges like that. That got a little long, but we're not going to even notice that when we get done. So now we're ready to add our little tendrils, kind of the muka tendrils and the twine. And I made a note to myself on my tangle tag that we want to try to do those coming out mainly of these straight edges. By leaving these other edges open, I feel that you can read what's going on a lot better. So I'm going to join this straight edge with this straight edge by making a big ribbon or tendril. So I'm just getting the direction, and then I'm going to go ahead and make an aura line about 1/4 of an inch wide, or 1/8 of an inch wide maybe. And then I'm going to redo that. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to go from this straight edge over to this one. And these don't have to be the same size by any means. They can be totally irregular. In fact, that's nicer. One thing you have to remember is that you're always going to have to draw behind. So I'm going to go, actually I'm going to skip one just to make, no, I think I'm going to go from this to this one. So watch that we draw under the ribbon that's already given. And then I'm going to go here from here. And there's a start. And now we can start, you can do more of those kinds of tendrils. You can, here's a fun example, you can do little curlicues if you'd like. And we can then also, obviously as here, we can also do some like mukas to embellish our surface area. So I still am going to try to stay coming off of this straight edge, and I'm going to go ahead and just do a muka. It's kind of becoming a hollis stroke there. And let's see, let's do another one here. Maybe one coming this way. And now I'm going to get my black out and do a couple more mukas and do my divisions for my strings. This is where your compositional choice comes in. I'm just going to go all the way to the edge. That's going to be defining one of my string sections. And then let's do one here. I think I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think I had 6 on my other one. I'm going to do another one here. And that looks pretty good to me. I'm going to now shade, but before I do that, we're going to finesse that square a little bit here in the center by doing a little bit of weighting of our line, which is going to kind of get lost in the shading, but it will help us emphasize where these join, so it looks like they're kind of woven into each other. Looks like they're going down beneath. And then I like to kind of give this outer edge some more weight. And you can always go back and weight more things later if you feel like it, but that's just going to help us with our shading. And now to the shading of this. Like I said, if you just have black and white, just take your charcoal or your black graphite pencil and do the same method. So wherever these are joining, wherever you weighted that line, you can add some graphite or some, in this case, colored pencil. I'm going rather lightly. And you'll notice where my hand is. I say this all the time, but look where my hand is. I've got a lot more control with my stroke by keeping my fingers further back from the tip of the pencil. So then I'm going to go on the other side and do the same thing. You can draw a little bit down the center there. We're going to emphasize that curve, and then you'll see the highlight in the middle, right? So just adding a little more. You can always build, build, build. And then here we go again. I'm going to start from here. So basically on two sides of the square of this kiko, you're going to have shading where it joins, and then the other outer edge to give it that dimension. Just want a little bit of a transition from the darker to the light to the big highlight in the center. I like to take my time with my shading. Then if you want to get really artsy, you can take your Caput Mortuum, which is obviously quite a bit darker than the Henna, and really emphasize those darks. Right there where we've got them weaving together. So I personally think this is shading up pretty nicely without really burnishing and blending a lot, but I always love to use my solvent blender. This is my Prismacolore solvent blender or marker, and this is just going to meld those colors together. I'm trying to stay off of the ink line. You can see that it looks like it's discoloring the tile, but it's not. It's gonna dry. Okay, so that's pretty smooth fill, and I'm going to continue to shade my tendrils like this. I'm going to give the muka head a little bit of shape here to make it spherical. And then I'm just going to apply colored pencil down one side, keeping the other side in light. And I'm just going to do that all over. That makes it look a little bit three-dimensional. So I'm pretending my light source is coming from the upper left. So on the left is where I'm going to be having my highlight. Same here. So then, just as we do with Hollaball, when there is a crossover, I'm going to put a little bit of shading on either side to lift that one up and push the other back. So on the other side of here, it's like a bridge, right? Under the bridge. Here as well. And I'm going to get dark down here where they're coming out. And then I'm going to do the same type of shading for these black. But, of course, as you know, here you can finesse your shading with this. The colored pencil does not smear quite like the graphite because it's a lot harder and waxier. So that's why I like to use my solvent blender. You can use a pencil that is a pigmentless pencil, which is also called a colorless blender. Okay, let's just continue these. I'll go back and blend when I'm done laying down the graphite. So same thing here. We have a crossover here, so I'm going to go ahead and put graphite on either side to make it look like that's lifting up. And I'm also going to get really dark down here. Now I think we're ready to put our General's white charcoal down, and I would do that here. And taking my blending stump that doesn't have any color on it, I'm just going to blend that a little bit so it's not so kind of in your face. You could do a hard light as well, but I like this kind of more muted highlight. And then I'm going to add some highlights here, and I'm not going to do it every single place, but especially on those muka fronds. Sometimes it feels like the pigments and the colored pencil are swallowed up by this paper. It's so porous, it's so soft that I end up having to add more and more not to lose that highlight. All right, looking pretty good. So if you wanted to, you could go back and add a little bit of line weight to some of these muka fronds. All right, I'm happy with that, and I think this is going to make for a great string for filling in with all kinds of beautiful tangles. Well, there you have it, macrame as a string. I hope you enjoyed this and have a lot of fun experimenting with your own compositional string on either a square, a Zendala, a 3Z, phi tile, whatever you want. And please do share your results with me, and then we will see what happens the next week. See you next time. Thanks again. That's it for today's Tangle. Thanks for joining me. If you like these lunchtime tutorials, please give them a thumbs up and subscribe to my YouTube channel. I also invite you to check out my website for classes that I have scheduled or to purchase my Tangle tags for your favorite step outs. That's Botangle.net. I'm leaving you with some other links too. Zentangle.com, where you can learn more about the Zentangle method from its founders, Rick Roberts and Maria Thomas. You can also visit their store there for a multitude of Zentangle paper tiles, tools, books, and kits. Tanglepatterns.com is that site I talk about where you can explore hundreds of tangle patterns, read about them, and get the step out, which is basically the deconstruction of the pattern. And finally, if you'd like to share your beautiful results with me and my student community, please join Annie's Botangle Alumni Facebook page. We're a private group where we inspire each other with our work and offer tips and useful information about art and Zentangle.